Welcome to Conflict News 24. On daily basis, we share updates with you on global conflicts. Firstly, Israel has put its military on high alert. Israel-Lebanon tensions are rising. Just around 2 months ago, Israel and Gaza-based armed group were involved in an armed escalation leading to dozens of casualties, especially on Gaza side. Now Israel-Lebanon tensions are rising. What is happening there? Secondly, China today showed its diplomatic power to the US, UK, Western countries. What happened? Voting was held at UN Human Rights Council about a resolution on human rights abuses in China against Uighur Muslims. US, UK, other countries, despite all their efforts, could not get the resolution passed. Which countries supported China? Which countries supported the US? We have details for you. And thirdly, those who fought a war 2 years ago were sitting at the table in Prague today. Turkey, Azerbaijan, Armenia, and lastly, viewers, Russia has responded to a suggestion made by Zelensky, Ukrainian President. Zelensky had asked NATO countries to carry out airstrikes on Russia, on Russian territories, to stop Russia from carrying out any plans involving use of nuclear weapons. What did Russia say? Firstly, viewers, Israel, Lebanon. The two countries have fought several times in the past 4 decades. Their last war was in 2006. They are involved in a dispute over their maritime borders. Both share maritime border in Mediterranean Sea. In the Mediterranean Sea, there are large reserves of natural gas. US has been trying to broker a deal between Israel and Lebanon regarding the demarcation of their maritime borders. The deal, its draft was agreed by Israel. It was sent to Lebanon, but Lebanon has proposed some amendments. The amendments have been rejected by Israel. Main dispute is over a gas rig, Krish gas rig in the Mediterranean Sea. Who owns this rig? Is this rig and does Israel have the right to start extraction of gas from this rig? Israel says that it has right to start extraction of gas from this rig. On the other hand, Hezbollah, based in Lebanon, has been implicitly threatening Israel. Now, when Lebanon has proposed some amendments to the maritime border agreement, after Lebanon today proposed some key amendments to the maritime border agreement draft, Israel rejected Lebanese proposals and put its military on high alert. Either Israel is expecting military action from Lebanese side, or Israel is preparing for preemptive attack on Lebanon, which could involve airstrikes. Israel is in the habit of initiating attacks. It always says that the attacks are preemptive. Like we saw in the case of Israeli airstrikes conducted on Gaza around 2 months ago, where PIJ, Palestine Islamic Jihad, a group, was targeted in Israeli airstrikes around 2 months ago. Those attacks were also preemptive, and once again Israeli military is being put on high alert. Is Israel planning an invasion of Lebanon or some limited operation in Lebanon or airstrikes in Lebanon? Coming hours very crucial. US says that it is monitoring the situation very closely. Next month in November, election is due to be held in Israel. Lebanon is in the grip of an economic crisis of 4 years. Lebanon cannot afford to start a long war while its citizens are in the grip of a severe economic crisis. Secondly, viewers, the second news story is about Chinese diplomatic clout, which was on display at UN Human Rights Council session today, where a motion was tabled about human rights abuses allegedly being committed in China against Uighur Muslims. US and Western countries have long been accusing China of committing atrocities, human rights abuses against Uighur Muslims who live in China. China denies. China does not give access to international human rights organizations to the areas where Uyghurs live. And a motion was tabled at UN Human Rights Council to discuss alleged genocide of Uyghurs in China. The motion was put to vote. 17 members of UN Human Rights Council voted. China succeeded in stopping this motion. 19 countries supported China. 17 supported the resolution backed by US. And 11 abstained from voting. So despite all their efforts, US could not get the resolution approved, passed at UN Human Rights Council session today. Which countries supported China? Almost all African countries which are part of the council supported China, except Somalia. Why? Because we know that in Somalia, a counter-insurgency operation is ongoing against Al-Shabaab, a terrorist organization in control of 1/3 of Somalia. And US ground forces, special forces, US Africa Command is actively participating in this operation. US is giving financial aid to Somalia. Somalia's newly elected government relies heavily on US support. That is why Somalia supported US today. All other African countries supported China. Cameroon, Eritrea, Sudan, Senegal, and others. Then countries like Bolivia, Cuba, Venezuela, Brazil also supported China. US was supported mostly by some European countries and some countries which don't have a good relation with China, like Japan. China are rivals, you can say. US has military presence in Japan. Japan supported the resolution, supported US stance. So, resolution has been rejected, motion rejected. China showed today that diplomatically it is a global power. It is not easy to get any resolution passed against China. It was a close contest, 1917, but in the end China managed to stop this motion at UN Human Rights Council session today. Thirdly, viewers, those who fought a war just 2 years ago and those who were involved in a deadly border escalation just a few days ago were sitting at the table in Prague today. Yes, Armenia, Azerbaijan and Turkey. Azerbaijan and Armenia fought a war in 2020 with thousands killed on both sides. Turkey openly supported Azerbaijan. Turkish drones played a key part in helping Azerbaijan gain a convincing military victory back then. Then Around 2 weeks ago, Azerbaijan, Armenia were involved in a deadly border fighting incident. More than 200 were killed on both sides. Russia, which intervened in 2020 for a ceasefire, this time is nowhere to be seen because Russia is preoccupied in Ukraine. And now EU, US are filling in the vacuum by facilitating Azerbaijan, Armenia, Turkey meetings. You can see a picture on your screen. Nikol Pashinyan, Armenian Prime Minister, Ilham Aliyev, Azerbaijani President, Erdogan, Turkish President can be seen sitting at the same table in Prague. A very positive development that no matter how long will countries fight, one day they'll have to sit at the table to resolve their disputes. This is the way to end disputes, to resolve disputes. Otherwise, in the end, those who fought have to sit at the table to resolve issues and disputes. Lastly, viewers, Zelensky, Ukrainian president, is suggesting that NATO should conduct airstrikes on Russia to stop Russia from considering any nuclear option against Ukraine. And Russia has responded to Zelensky's suggestion by saying that Zelensky is instigating a world war and his comments should be condemned by NATO. Zelensky has been trying to involve NATO from day one. And a few days ago, Ukraine submitted an application to be a member of NATO. But NATO is not ready to give membership to Ukraine now. Why? Because NATO does not want to be directly involved in this conflict against Russia, though NATO weapons are being used by Ukrainian forces. Despite several calls made by Ukrainian President Zelensky that Ukraine was in need of long-range weapons, fighter jets and bombers, so far NATO has not given long-range missiles, fighter jets and bombers to Ukraine. Why? Because NATO does not want to be directly involved in this conflict against Russia. That is why only HIMARS have been given by the US, which are not long-range weapons and no jets so far. It means that though NATO weapons are being used by Ukraine, NATO does not want to be directly involved in this conflict. Zelensky from day one wants NATO to be directly involved in this conflict. Russia wants NATO, EU, US to condemn Zelensky's remarks.